reporting for duty.
Okay, so we're up and running here for the second day of the Defiance 4th anniversary celebration with Clan Cronus. We're starting a little bit late as they catch up on the stragglers, but we're getting set to go.
Sure, I'll help you out.
Let's do this.
Defiance!
Join me for a bit of the old ultra-violence. Yeah, you probably need me.
Let's do some killing! I really pulled this team together.
Good luck. Stay alive out there.
here we go.
As if I wasn't amazing enough.
Time to drive.
Guess I can talk a little bit more about the game again. Today, we're traveling through the starting area on our way to Iron Demon Ranch. There's a lot of cool little bits in this area, even though it's not very developed, just like the rest of the map. However, there are a lot of little structures around, little places to set up cover, and it's one of those parts you miss out on later in the game, as you don't want to come back here and raise the ego level on all the newbies. It's one of the more disappointing things is that once you get into San Francisco and then the later area added Silicon Valley, they're very nondescript and really designed to make it frustrating to get around. So the most fun areas are the areas you kind of stay away from simply because of the broken ego scaling that was introduced back in DLC 5. Seems our APS van owner is extremely proud of his rare vehicle and has decided he is going to drive instead of running like the rest of us. And no, I'm not joining in on the blur crowd. One of the disappointing things when I was creating Hulker Cafe for the game was the inability to turn off the HUD to take, images or record videos that don't have all that extra information to make vanity promotional videos. The strange thing was the response was that they couldn't do it, despite the fact that it actually happens in the game whenever you're hit by electrical nano. Later, of course, they introduced Alcatraz, where you don't have weapons and you are at a distance as opposed to over the shoulder 3D, in third person. And there you could pose, but you still have the other elements of the HUD, which doesn't make it any better. It also doesn't help the fact that there's really nothing of worth to take shots over there. One of the features I added to Hulker Cafe during this restart, which hopefully I'll be getting back to this coming week, is the day-night cycle, which I finally figured out because it's an off number. You can see exactly what the time of day is within the game, and during those sunrises and sunsets there are some pretty decent effects. There are a lot of decent effects actually in the game, particularly when the bosses are coming into the world, and the fact that we can't share those to get people excited just from a vanity recording and then editing those together is just one of the other short-sighted parts of the game. Ultimately, for the monetization, and something that I mentioned back in the early days, was there was really no need. This is much more of a original Xbox PS2 level game on the consoles rather than the 360 and the PS3. So they went with a very simple model, which does not allow a lot of customization. Without that customization, they can't really sell a lot of clothing items in here. If you could have a separate shirt and a coat, you could have separate shoes. They have a lot of other options. But by going with such basic models, most of which never even render in game when you're on the consoles. And as you're seeing here, we're getting the generic Gary character, which is what happens when there's not enough memory handles to be able to associate the different costumes for all the characters that are on screen at once. We're broadcasting in 1080p today. If you were to visit my channel, look at some of the other recordings. I have played the game in 4K and ultra-wide, which the game does support. However, the static screens do not work in ultra-wide, they just get centered. But the rest of the interface and the actual usability of the game do run fine in ultra-wide. And despite the age of the game and the limitations of using the console sort of as a middle ground, there's some really well done stuff. There's some shortcuts taken, particularly with foliage, but there's a lot of nice stuff. But at the same time, how much of that nice stuff do you get to see when you're going with the lore or the fiction of the Defiance world? This doesn't even compare to what was introduced in later seasons of the game. This is just such a broken down area. Maybe if we took some time from arc hunting, we could actually bury some of those roads to keep us from being able to drive around San Francisco well. I've definitely fallen behind. So many people using blur that have raced ahead. Looks like I've gone from the middle of the pack to the back. Didn't have much luck with the bargain boxes that I did at the end of the stream yesterday. We're going to do one again at the end of this. However, on my other character, I got a second apocalypse. It's one of those strange things where they put in a weapon that looks like it's super overpowered, but in use it's not, and it also has a huge limitation, like a bunch of the weapons in the game which require charging up. This one requires charging up using the sight, the nuclear rocket launcher, and if you don't charge it fully, you essentially kill yourself every time. The problem is that when you mod the weapon, the only mods available for the sight are ones that zoom in, which make using the weapon on the run a pain in the ass. Unfortunately, there's no movement accuracy sight mod for rocket launchers. You'd think there would be, because most people use the mass cannon and its variations completely in zoomed mode on iron sights. See this vista here, which is very nice. Still remember back when I first was playing the game in 2013. I wasn't a day one player. Not generally a fan of MMOs. It was only after I played the game and realized this isn't really an MMO. It's an open world game that just happens to support more than 4 players at the same time. That there are a lot of places to explore, and as a Grand Theft Auto fan, Saints Row fan, I wanted to check each nook and cranny, go to every top of every hill, and see whether there might be a secret there. But there aren't. It was really a missed opportunity to only have the few data recorders that there are. Now I'm definitely bringing up the rear. I don't know anyone else that's listening here who watches this afterwards that has played the game was as disturbed by the change in voice actors with the additional Season 2 and Season 4 missions. You would think that they could have gotten those same people back. I was pretty happy with the voice acting, particularly at the beginning. The one for Cooper was by far the biggest change. Here we go again. We'll see if I can't stay in the middle for a little bit longer. Lots of blur going on again. You can see the sunrise coming. When I was trying to break down where the day-night cycle happened, I found a particular spot down at Port Bruno as well as at Chandu's. Got on top of buildings and recorded for as many hours as I could, and then marked down the exact spots where things changed. There's some nice effects like we're seeing here. Anyone watching now or the later upload to YouTube that's never been to my site before, HulkerCafe.com was a site I created back in 2013 when it was obvious we weren't going to get any kind of sales mechanism within the game, as well as something that I think any regular game where you're playing with a lot of people you potentially want to interact with. So creating a combination social site and sales site. However, in 2014, when we all got hit by DLC 5, and at least 75% of people stopped playing the game because of all the changes that they did to the core mechanics, I was just as frustrated and gave up. I came back a little over a year ago to find the introduction of things such as jackpot weapons and the rig system. And in order to update Hulker Cafe to support all that stuff, there was a lot of research to do. However, I was also in the middle of working on a guide for the game, another promotional tool, and I spent 4 months on the Xbox 360 recording 2 characters, doing full playthroughs of the main story and the missions that are available in the seasons. And what I found out was that was a nice smooth process because they were not event heavy. And then suddenly the events started up, and each event meant a new synergy. I have to play the game to collect some of the items so I can take screenshots, and I just kept pushing things further back. While we're not going to get much of a break here for the next event, I do think I'm of the mind that I can sit down and do the work that's necessary to get all the updates done. The biggest challenge I still have is interface-wise. So many synergies, so many named weapons. How do I make an interface that's not a gigantic combo list with 400 items in it? So I still am thinking about some things, but I'm really hoping to get to that this week. And after that's done, I'm going to do a Twitch walkthrough of the use of the site. I've been running. I've been running, but
Enemy down.
somehow I'm back in the line again. Getting close to Top Notch, which will be our second stop. Yesterday we ended up stopping at the Fork down in San Francisco rather than making the way down to the center of the San Francisco part of the map. I don't know whether we'll be cutting it short again to support Chaos Crew and their event, which will be coming up at 7 if it was the same as yesterday. One of the other features I worked on for the updated Hulker Cafe was I took advantage of the 4K resolution to capture the map zoomed in so I could make a version using HTML map overlay. And I've been working on things such as shortcuts and routes you can take when you first start playing the game to hit all of the fast travel locations. That was a big pain to do. See, someone said swim to Alcatraz in the chat. I remember when Silicon Valley was added and people would try because you could actually see the indicators for major arc falls across the
Defiance!
water divider.
Hooah!
I did swim much of the way, while at the same time there's a mission you go on where there's a docked boat with raiders on it. And there's about one jump worth of water, yet you'll drown in that spot.
It seems like there are more sick people every time I blink. It's crazy.
All right.
I know what you're doing. I won't
Maybe
let
there's just
you.
so many people this time that I'm not in the back of the line. They're just disappearing like we're at a event major. Anyway, we're here at Top Notch and taking a break. It appears we're going to bug and chug this time as our way across, headed towards the bridge.
You could be an asset.
Hitch your ride.
seems like there are more sick people every time I blink. It's crazy.
Got Kyle B here in the chat asking about what I was talking about earlier and mapping out a short route to get to all the fast travel
Glad my family
locations.
was back east.
I'm of two minds of when I try to introduce people into the game, and part of that is related to the first time you play and when you play with secondary characters. Secondary characters, a lot of times you just want to get to fast travel points. You can jump to Arc Falls. Because I recommend not starting the story until you're a 1500 or 2000 ego. Other people want to start the story right away, and they'll discover those things naturally if they follow along all the side missions as well as the main missions. But when I'm starting secondary characters, I could just fast travel to another character in another window if I'm on PC or if I'm running multiple consoles simultaneously. But if I'm jumping in with a new character, I've already played the game enough, so I want to go and get those places knocked off so that if I'm busy doing one thing and here comes a major arcfall, I'm on it. I don't have to wait and see it on the map going, man, if I had only gone and found those other spots. Let's see how long it takes to fall behind the crowd this time. Gonna run along the side here a little bit so everyone can see that. Here we're passing a pair of new jeans. This is one of the standard encounters. It's one of the biggest things that DLC 5 ruined in the game. Was everything fixed without the scaling. Before, you couldn't just sit there and tear apart the Bulge or tear apart a Monarch in a matter of seconds with a BMG like you can as a 6K Ego nowadays. It always took some kind of work. However, if the threat level is not up, it's just at your basic threat level, you pretty much finish them off instantaneously, faster than anything you could is taking off the grunts. I still remember before DLC 1, I would cruise around with the guy who introduced me to a lot of the game, and he and two other people and I would ride around in separate cars because at that point we did not have the four-person vehicles yet. And we would just stay in the farm areas and try to take advantage of the emergent gameplay that's available in the game because the AI is routed to attack one another. So if you had raiders next to the Volge, and you could then lure the Volge over to wipe the raiders out, or lure two different monarchs over to take on the Volge, and then step back and watch. And that was always kind of fun. But it was also fun having our low ego characters with one slightly high ego character plotting, taking out the Volge, trying to raise our sniper rifle skills for those of us who do not like snipers. So he'd stay in the back, get a couple crits, and then run and hide while another guy would distract them to get the aggro down. Am I good at this game? Well, I only have one 6K character. Many people have a lot of 6K characters. I happen to play on all three platforms. I have characters on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC North American servers. I have a set of weapons that I like using that are not picked because of their capabilities. I just happen to enjoy them. So I use a Feaster, which is a plate slicer infector weapon that I enjoy a lot, and I also use a Castellan Weaver as a BMG. I use the decoy power. I generally like to play a support role. However, at the same time, I generally can come in first at an arc fall or at a co-op mission using those weapons against people who are using nothing but detonators or rocket launchers, because if you understand the way the point system works, you can take advantage of tagging people, taking advantage of, in particular, the infectors that people use a lot during event art falls, because the infector bugs go and tag additional enemies, which add to your overall score. But I don't usually look at myself as being good at any game. I was a gamer since 1974. Walked into People's Drug with my mom when we saw Pong. Saw a guy sitting there playing Pong, and hearing those noises, I needed a quarter. And I've been a gamer ever since. Unlike a lot of other people who gamed when they were young, at that time I was 8. That didn't stop. I've played video games every year. I've collected it. I'm essentially a collector. If you were to check out my video game preservation site, vgpavilion.com, there are a lot of sites out there that are trying to keep track of other aspects of video gaming besides just the games themselves. For me, the media, and in particular advertising, is of interest. So where other people would just archive magazines by scanning all the pages, I went the extra step of converting all the articles into web readable and optimized to work on whatever device you're on, so that you can pursue the magazines without pinch zooming everything, so you can actually see the articles. And that's going to be one of my long-term goals, is particularly capturing all the magazines from the early 80s. There wasn't a real video game magazine culture until 1981. Before then, Video Magazine and Video Review had coverage, and some of the people from Video Magazine went off and created Electronic Games, which was the first monthly video game magazine. And before the quote-unquote video game crash of 1983, we got to the point where there were 6 magazines on the market in the United States. There were a couple overseas. One of them in particular, Computers and Video Games, ran for quite a while out of England. But I think there's a lot of interesting things there. One bit I like is looking at the foundational aspects of games that people don't know about, and including the creators. There was a game from Magic, who were my favorite third-party publishers for the Intellivision, which was my choice of game system from the first generation, that created a game called Safecracker, where you drove around the streets and you had to dodge the police, and you took jobs, and you went in and did a mini game to break a safe, and you had to get that back to your house. It was, very much like a sandbox game of today, but that was 1983.
I'm picking up dark matter chatter on a local frequency.
One thing dealing with video games is so many people started later than I, particularly during the NES days. And those of us who were gaming before the NES and did not see 1983 as a crash, instead it was just an adjustment of out-of-date video game consoles and converting to computer games. So all during the time of the NES, I was playing on the Amiga, which essentially is a forerunner to the games you found on the Sega Genesis.
Yeehaw!
So we're going to have a fireworks show here once we get the bridge. I've broken out the fireworks spike and my Liberty fireworks launcher. Seeing the stream right now, you can see this is the cheap way of doing foliage in the old days. I don't know if anybody here has ever played Second Life, which isn't a game. You can essentially say Minecraft is a retarded version of Second Life. But Second Life was a place where you could create your own things, and in there, but probably the mid-2000s, they were doing the same kind of thing with foliage. Nowadays, everybody does that foliage model. I don't know why I have 150 cap on this fireworks spikes. I have, obviously the cap on the other spikes was much lower. The one thing though is supposedly you don't pick them up. I haven't verified that, but supposedly if you pick up spike charges while that's equipped, they do not add to those. Are you talking about sliding in terms of what I just did, the roll, or are you talking about with a vehicle? For a roll, you have an option. I use a controller. I don't use the keyboard. With the controller, I double tap B because I use a controller on both the consoles. I keep everything consistent. Plus, I'm just not a sports gaming fan. But you can assign it to a single key if you're playing with the keyboard. And on the controller, you have the option of doing a double tap, or I think it's a hold. I have to check the option to make sure. As I mentioned yesterday, I really miss the old days where they followed the Grand Theft Auto philosophy, where you could not cross this bridge until you had finished the mission. There was a giant monitor that would kill you, just like in GTA, keeping you from parts of the city. Not sure where else this was going to set up the fireworks spikes, but we're about to hit the mines on the bridge, so I'm guessing he's going to wait till we get across. Looks like we got some cheaters again driving. I'm going to be streaming the game again starting in 2 weeks. I created a free account and I've been documenting in hour blocks the playthrough using a character using solely free to play. All my other accounts, and I have, let's see, I have 5 on PC, 4 on PS3, and 3 on Xbox 360 because you have to have an Xbox Live Gold account for 360 or I'd have a 4th on those. And almost all of them are collector's edition or ultimate editions that come with the season pass, or have other bonuses. So I wanted to be able to document exactly what the free-to-play experience was, and I want to get that started again. I haven't done that in about, I think it's 6 months. But each one of those that I stream, I then archive in 1 hour blocks for watching. And I try to do some fun stuff in there instead of just standing around. Really want to show off the best part of Defiance, which is the shooting. The whole arcade feel of getting in a half an hour shooting people in the face and then moving on to other things.
Looks like they brought in an elite unit.
The giveaway is going to happen here when we hit the fork. Everybody's going to line up, and then a bunch of members of the clan are going to go down the line with trade invites and hand off OJs, orange, or legendary weapons. There's also a giveaway that's happening on the Defiance forums if you're not already signed up on the Defiance forums under the event forum. If you were to take a screenshot during this event, and if you haven't done so already, you can take one right now or during the final part, go post into the Cronus Armistice celebration, and you could win one of the code giveaway prizes that Tryon provided to the clan. But the prizes that we're giving away here are coming straight out of clan storage. Yeah, let's plop that down. And we got someone using their nuke. Yeah, Micro Jedi, that's going to happen. I think Ultra said it's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm not sure. They want to give people enough time to post their pictures into the thread that I had mentioned. So that's going to do it for this stream and this particular event. This has been 4 years of Defiance. I guess you could say a little bit over 2 for me with a big break in the middle. I'm going to be back, and hopefully after next week I'll be back with a big update of my website, pokercafe.com, that will give people a way to connect for doing their trades and sales you haven't used the site before, it allows you to list your items, mark them as being for trade, or sale, or both, and then you can contact that person. It automatically sends emails between them, and then you can find each other in the game and conduct the transfer. And things. There's going to be a bunch of changes, in particular the ability to just document your inventory and not list everything for sale or trade. And then there'll be a way for you to say, I've got 100 mods, I'm not sure where they can go, and it will show which weapons you have that have free slots of that particular synergy and mark them up. There's also going to be a bunch of other things new, such as a loadout advisor, a rig advisor, where you can see a blank rig, fill it out, put a description on it, recommend it to people, and all the other features that exist right now, the ability to make recommendations and descriptions on top of weapons and everything like that. So hopefully everyone will get a chance to check that out, and I will be introducing it on Twitch as well as doing additional Defiance streaming after next week. So thanks for hanging out, and hope everyone had a great day.
Grabbing ammo.
Sprinting. Making a run.
So it looks like we're not done. Everyone just ran off.
Ready to roll.
Chaos crew is not doing theirs at the same time, and we're continuing on to Overpass. Was all set to go down and make a sandwich. But we want to document this whole thing.
Rushing.
Even if we just have a couple stragglers. And now, now we're going to be going to Kuwait. Which, of course, using the font they use on the consoles, I thought was Colt Tower for a very long time. Yeah, when this is over, I need to get on my other patron accounts. I still have 4 more that have not done their dailies yet on PC, 4 on PS3, and 2 on Xbox 360. And we got some Walking Dead tonight, so no Water Temple for me. Hopefully Kuwait will be the end of the line.
You're not cut out for this.
Run time.
Looks like we're off again. Hopefully the last leg. See what route they take, whether we're going to go into downtown or not. That was another one of those missed opportunities. They have a couple floors up that are used for mission and for contracts as a repurposed version, but it would be nice to have some more hollowed out buildings. Be another way for people to do some emergent gameplay. I'm not sure which way, now that everybody's disappeared off the radar, I'm not sure which way we're headed. Are we going straight? I'm out all by my lonesome. With my no damage doing firework launcher. As I get shot by snipers and full work. At least we're getting to look at some of the scenery you don't normally see in the game. As I said earlier, there's purpose-built frustration in all of San Francisco. There's really, it doesn't give you any reason to want to be in this area. And that's half the map.
Displacing.
Well, at this point, I'm so far off the path,
Ready
I'm
to
going to
roll.
drive. Okay, this is the end of the line. Thanks for everyone who watched, and if you've come in and seen us later on my YouTube channel, hopefully you got an idea that there's still a strong community going on in Defiance after all these years, no matter how much you might hear that the game is just not running. There's plenty of people on all the platforms, particularly during the events. So if you haven't given it a shot before and you like a third-person shooter, give it a shot. Have a great night.